Namaste viewers, welcome to Sri Ananta YouTube channel. Swamiji, could you please tell us about one more Upanishad called Brihadaranyaka Upanishad?
Embodiments of love. Today in our Upanishad series, we are going to discuss about Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is one of the vast Upanishad among all 108 Upanishads. Still, I try to precise this Upanishad so that it will be easy for understanding, because most of the Upanishads are speaking about the enlightenment and oneness with the God. So here, how this Upanishad throws light on the Atma Vichara, let us learn. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is one of the oldest and most significant Upanishad in Hindu philosophy, as we know very well. It contains a profound teachings on the metaphysics, ethics and spiritual wisdom. Here few important verses which I would like to quote from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. This verse is a prayer for guidance and enlightenment. It transfers to lead me from ignorance to truth, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. It emphasizes the seeker's desire to move away from ignorance and attain a spiritual enlightenment. So, first verse, the Satoma Sadgamaya, see, unless a person ignorant is not having a light in his life, he cannot attain the knowledge. So, here the light means the knowledge. Even a knowledge means also a guru, a mentor who can guide you properly, who can impart the education for you, so that with the knowledge of a mentor, what has been imparted and what has been perceived and accepted in the life by the aspirant, that only makes a person better in his life. So that is why, unless a guru is not taking you from the darkness to the light, you will not attain the state of immortality. Another profound verse of this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is Aham Brahmasmi. And this is the famous dictum, and we have learned from Adi Shankaracharya up to Ramana Maharshi. So Aham Brahmasmi means I am Brahman. So the question raised by the Ramana Maharshi is, who am I? And whereas here Aham Brahmasmi means I am that Brahman. So in order to understand I am that Brahman, you have to raise the question, who am I? Unless you are not ready to question yourself, who has created you? First of all, you have to understand who has created you. Am, of course, it is a soul. But can we able to see our soul? Impossible. So again, that am is also confusion. We see the lively body here, so we understand with all our indriyas, that is all the 10 sensory organs, we can able to perceive, comprehend and understand very well that I exist. Whereas am, no one knows. The soul, which is pervaded everywhere in all the creatures of this universe, it is existing. We know that very well. Still, we unable to realize that. The reason is that when the question of mine and thine comes, then always the differences exist. So for that only, in order to understand perfectly Aham Brahmasmi, you have to be taken from the darkness to the light by a mentor. So that is why that first Asatoma Sadgamaya, that verse was very much immense to understand Aham Brahmasmi, the second important verse. So it reflects the Upanishad's teaching that the individual self, that is Atman, is essentially identical to the ultimate reality Brahman. It emphasizes the realization of one true nature as divine and infinite. And third, this verse is also very well dictum in many of the speeches or the discourses. If you have listened earlier, Tattvamasi. From any guru, they talk about Tattvamasi. This verse means you are that. It teaches the identity of the individual self, that is Atman, with the ultimate reality Brahman. Tattvamasi means I am that Brahman. So that's what the quintessence of this. It implies that every individual is inherently divine. So when we talk about inherently divine, in what sense we are inherently divine and we are interconnected with that God? see, these confusions will always exist. When the state of duality is there, always a person will feel I am different from that ultimate, because no one has seen the Almighty. Generally, people are in the state of duality, and in order to understand the concept, the state of oneness is difficult. The reason is that always they have the mind and time in their mind. So you are different, I am different. In order to understand the state of oneness, that is, I am Tattvamasi, I am that supreme, I exist in that supreme, or Aham Brahmasmi, I am that supreme, you have to pose a question, who am I? So there, when you question yourself whether I am this body, no, because the body ceases. Whether I am the sensory organs, again the sensory organ ceases when you are in deep sleep state, or when the body, soul ceases this body. Then are you the mind, are you the intellect, are you the soul? So when these questions are coming, let us leave about the soul part, because no one knows who that I am is. Still, rest of the things, whatever that I witnesses or feels or expresses itself in different phase of life, in such conditions the Neti principles applicable and it is applied. So the phrase translates to not this, not that. So it is a negation technique used to describe the nature of Brahman. That is the ultimate reality. It suggests that Brahman cannot be described or understood through words or concepts. So you have to take into your mind, he cannot be described through concepts, and he transcends all the definitions. That's what you have to understand. So he transcends all the definitions means what? Only through the feelings, who is inert in you in the form of feelings or conscience, or in the form of soul, whatever the terminology we use it, that only exists. And when you compare yourself with the other creatures of the nature, you will find that the very same essence called Atman, or that energy, exists in everyone, and which cannot be described in the words or in the definitions, only it can be realized through feelings. So finally, what we can say, another dictum is there of this Brihadaranyaka verse is Yata Pinda Tata Brahmanda, and this dictum is also massively, it has been spread. Yata Brahmanda, when we say Tata Pinda, the verse asserts the principle of microcosm and macrocosm correlation. So what it speaks about, it states that as the individual, so is the universe, and vice versa. It highlights the interconnectedness and reflections of the macrocosm, that is universe, within the microcosm individual. Now here this one, macrocosm in the individual in microcosm, how it can be possible? So there is one Vidya called Dharya Vidya, which speaks about the macrocosm and the microcosm. Now when we take an example of this body, the body is a microcosm. Okay, in that several organs are there, and which are nanomicrocosms, we can rather say, and macrocosm is this universe. So whatever in the space is available, the entire space you can imagine through your imagination, you can limit that in your microcosm, this body. So what are the organs that required? That is mind, which is invisible one. It is not an organ, but still we consider it as an invisible organ, mind. And the comprehensions, that is brain. So intellectual process is going on. Again, it is invisible, so you can have. And third, the sensory organs. Now even with the closed eyes, you can try to imagine and focus all the entire universe into your thought. So when such thought process comes, that is microcosm. So in this way, these things, Yata Pinda Tata Brahmanda, Yata Brahmanda Tata Pinda, this verse, this dictum has been referred. So these verses from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishads offer profound insights into the nature of reality, the identity of the self, and with the identity of the Supreme, the path of spiritual liberation, what we say. They encourage the seekers to transcend ignorance, realize their true nature, and recognize the underlying unity of all existence. So, hope you might have understood what this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the quintessence which I have described now, and definitely this will lead into the liberation if you try to meditate and spare some time for penance. Definitely you will realize only through feelings you can achieve everything, and only through feelings you can find the unity in everyone. So, aspirants, proceed with your penance, do every day, and dedicate yourself to realize the unity in the diversity of this universe. Thank you.